Ada leaned in slightly. You said earlier that you bought your raffle ticket from the kiosk at Allen Avenue, correct? Yes, Donald replied. That's right. And you said you bought it sometime the week of the draw? Donald nodded. Yes, I think so. Ada paused. What day exactly did you buy it? Donald blinked. Oh, I think maybe the 5th. Yes, it should be the 5th. Joy quietly slid a printed calendar across the table. That was a Sunday. The shop closes early on Sundays. Are you sure it wasn't another day? Donald hesitated. Maybe it was the 6th then. Monday. Ada didn't look up. You sure about that? Donald opened his mouth, then closed it again. Well, maybe it was the 7th. That was Tuesday, right? Joy spoke gently. Mr. Donald, it's very important we get the timeline right. The ticket was purchased on the 7th, confirmed by the lottery system and narrowed down to evening hours. Donald's face tensed. Yes, that's what I meant. The 7th. Ada looked him square in the eye. Then why did you first say the 5th? And then the 6th? Donald laughed nervously. Memory can be tricky. So many things happening that week. Ada didn't smile. How did you pay for the ticket? Cash, Donald said quickly. How much? 200 Naira. Joy raised an eyebrow. Tickets cost 500. Donald paused, flustered. I meant 500. It was cash. Ada scribbled something in his notes. Joy stepped forward. Mr. Donald, there's no record of you ever visiting that kiosk. The staff doesn't know you. CCTV from across the street places. Amaka entering the plaza on the 7th. You aren't seen at all. And now your timeline's falling apart. Donald looked between them, his composure cracking. I don't remember exactly. It was a stressful week. Ada sat back slowly. What we're trying to understand is simple. Did you really buy that ticket? Silence. Let's take a short break, Ada said, closing the folder. But think carefully, Mr. Donald. We're not just interested in who held the ticket. We're interested in who owned it. The store buzzed with the usual late-morning rush. Ms. Beauty stood behind the counter, distracted, flipping through her ledger when a sudden thought hit her. She stopped, her eyes widening. How come we didn't remember? Chuks. She turned quickly to one of the attendants. Chuks. The boy who handles the raffle tickets. Where is he? One of the younger staff looked up, confused. Madam, he's still on vacation, ma. Another staff member, the same young man who had recognized Amaka earlier, chimed in. That boy? He is the computer for the tickets. Always writing things in that brown book like he is the manager. Miss Beauty blinked. Wait, the brown notebook, does he still keep it? Yes, ma, the boy said. Every customer who bought ticket from him, name, phone number, sometimes address, and the ticket number. He says he wants to call the winner himself if they ever sell a winning ticket. Miss Beauty stared at the floor, stunned. All this time, and no one remembered him? He's quiet, another staff member muttered. You know, autistic or something, but very smart and excellent memory with numbers. He always keeps to himself. We used to joke that he was carrying secret files in that brown book. Miss Beauty grabbed her phone and dialed. The line rang. No answer. She tried again. Nothing. His number's not going through. She looked around sharply. Call Officer Ada now. Tell him we may have something, someone. And someone else, go to Chuck's house. Take a Kiki if you have to. Bring him here. If he still has that notebook, we may finally have proof of who bought that ticket. Officer Ada was halfway through organizing the latest CCTV printouts when his phone rang. He answered on the first ring. Yes. Sir, it's Miss Beauty from the convenience store. Go ahead. There's a boy who works with us. Chuks. He's on leave, but he's the one who handles the raffle tickets. He keeps a personal record of everyone who buys, name, ticket number, phone number, everything. Ada stood up straight. You're sure? He always said if we ever sold a winning ticket, he wanted to call the person himself. He might have the name of who bought the winning ticket. Ada's voice turned urgent. Do you know where he is? We're trying to reach him, but his number isn't going through. I've sent someone to find him. He lives on the mainland with his parents. Adder's heart raced, but his voice remained steady. If that brown book exists, we'll have the name of the rightful owner. He hung up and turned to Joy, who had just walked in. Call off the soft approach, Ada said. We may have a primary source, independent, written, and time-stamped. Joy's eyes lit up. That could end this. If Chuks confirms Amaka's name and ticket number, it's game over. Ada nodded. Unless, of course, the book says something else. The afternoon sun was bright but gentle, shining through the leaves of a big mango tree. Beneath the tree, in front of a small old cement house with peeling paint and a noisy zinc roof, Chuck sat on a low stool. He had no shoes on, and beside him was a plate of garden eggs. On his lap rested a thick brown notebook, his journal. He slowly turned through the pages one by one. His handwriting filled the book. Names, phone numbers, ticket numbers, all written neatly. Each page was marked with a date. The yard around him was quiet, except for the sounds of goats in the distance, children playing, and someone pounding yam in a nearby kitchen. Chuck smiled as he looked at his work. He had always taken raffle ticket sales seriously, even though some of the other staff in Lagos made fun of him. They didn't understand why he kept records. But Chucks liked keeping things in order. He liked the idea of knowing exactly who bought each ticket, just in case someone won. He stopped at a page dated Tuesday the 7th. There were 5 names on that page, each next to a ticket number. He ran his finger down the list slowly. I wonder who won this month's raffle, he said to himself. He glanced at his phone on the table next to him. It was still off. It had fallen and broken during their trip from Lagos. Out here in the village there was nowhere to fix it. He planned to get it repaired once he returned to Lagos at the weekend. Because his phone wasn't working, he hadn't heard the news. No calls. No messages. No updates. But he wasn't worried. Not yet. He gently closed the brown notebook and placed his hand on top of it like it was something precious. I can't wait to get back, he said softly. I need to find out who won. Officer Ada stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, voice firm but calm. This case needs to be closed, he said. It should have been simple. Now the press is everywhere and the commissioner is breathing down my neck. On the other end of the line, a senior officer at the Imo State Command listened carefully. There's a boy, Chuks. He works at a store in Lagos. He keeps a journal with records of raffle ticket buyers. We believe he wrote down the name of the real winner. The line was quiet for a second. I need him found, Ada continued. Ask him if he still has that brown journal. If yes, put him on the next flight to Lagos. We'll cover the cost. This is urgent. Officer Okeke drove into the quiet village just as the sun dipped behind the trees. After a quick stop at the local station, he followed directions through narrow roads until he reached a small cement house with a tin roof and cracked walls. A few children played nearby. A young boy from the next compound ran over when he saw the police car. Are you looking for Chuks? The boy asked. Yes, Okeke replied kindly. Do you know where he is? He went to Ori Amaraka Market, the boy said, pointing up the road. Okeke parked and stepped out of the car. He stood beside the gate, hands behind his back, waiting quietly. A few minutes later, an older woman stepped out of the house, tying her wrapper. Her face showed concern as she saw the police vehicle. I hope all is well, she asked gently. Yes, Ma, Okeke said with a respectful nod. Everything is fine. I'm just looking for your son, Chuks. Her worry softened. Is anything wrong? No. Nothing to be afraid of. He is not in trouble at all, Okeke reassured her. In fact, we need his help. It's very important. She stepped closer, curiosity now mixed with pride. Help? My Chuks. Yes, Ma. We believe he might be able to help solve something important in Lagos. I just need to speak with him when he gets back. She nodded slowly. You can wait here. He should return before sunset. The sun had started to dip behind the trees when Chuks returned from Ori Amaraka Market, a small nylon bag of fruits in one hand. As he approached the house, he noticed the police car and a man waiting near the gate. He slowed, cautious. Are you Chuks? The officer asked with a kind smile. Yes, sir, Chuks replied, confused. I'm Officer Okeke. I came from Lagos on urgent instruction. There's a situation involving the big win raffle ticket, the one from the store you work at. We believe your journal might help us solve it. Chuks blinked. My brown book. Yes. Do you still have it? It's safe, sir. I packed it in my bag when we traveled. I didn't want to lose it. We can check it when we get to Lagos. Good, Okeke said with a nod. You'll have to come with me immediately. The case is very important. The police in Lagos are waiting. Chuks looked toward the house, still holding his fruit. I have to tell my parents. Of course. Lagos? Tonight? His mother asked, surprised. Yes, Mama. The officer says I can really help them. They said it's about the winning ticket, Chuks explained. His father nodded slowly. Go, my son. But keep that book close. It's important. Chuks hugged them both, grabbed his travel bag and followed Officer Okeke to the car. At the local station in Owerri, Officer Okeke quickly confirmed the last flight to Lagos, a Peace Airlines economy seat. The moment they arrived at Sam Bakwi Airport, Chuks looked around wide-eyed, amazed by the busy terminal, the sounds, the large glass windows and the blinking screens. He had never been on a plane before. After check-in and security, they walked to the boarding gate. Chuks stared at the plane through the window, smiling like a child. Soon boarding began. A friendly air hostess smiled at him as he stepped in. Good evening, sir. Welcome aboard. Chuks couldn't stop smiling. Thank you, Ma. He took his seat near the window and buckled in. His eyes scanned every button, every movement. As the engine roared to life and the plane lifted off the ground, he pressed his face near the window. It was a smooth flight. The lights of Lagos sparkled below as the plane descended, and minutes later the aircraft touched down on the tarmac. Chuks walked into the arrival lounge, travel bag in one hand, still buzzing with excitement. At the exit, Officer Ada stood waiting with a plane car behind him. He gave a short wave. Chuks. Yes, sir, Chuks said, walking over quickly. Ada gave him a warm handshake. Welcome to Lagos. We've been waiting for you. Chuks grinned. Thank you, sir. I brought the book. Good, Ada said, leading him to the car. Let's head to the station. We have work to do. The street was quiet, the kind of quiet that hummed with things unsaid. Donald and Nancy slipped out of their small flat under the cover of darkness, heading toward the local viewing center, a crowded, open-air spot where people gathered to watch football and the evening news on a big TV. As they passed a small group of neighbors chatting by a kiosk, the conversation stilled. Someone muttered, low and bitter. Another whispered. They had seen the news. Donald avoided their eyes. Nancy's grip on his arm tightened. They reached the viewing center just as the channel switched to the 9 o'clock news. The anchor smiled and began reading headlines. Donald and Nancy stood at the back, barely breathing. But the raffle ticket story never came up. Local politics. Fuel price hikes. Road repairs in Ogun State. Nothing about the ticket. When the bulletin ended, Nancy exhaled sharply. Maybe we're in the clear. Donald didn't answer at first. His eyes were still fixed on the dark screen, his jaw tight. No, he said quietly. This feels like the quiet before the storm. Inside the softly lit office, Officer Ada sat across from Chuks, who now looked calm and focused. Joy leaned against the back wall, watching silently. We were told you kept records, Ada said. We need the one from the 7th, Tuesday. Can you help us with that? Chuks nodded. Yes, sir. I remember that day well. It was quiet. Only 5 tickets sold. Ada raised a brow. You remember the customers? Yes, Chuks said confidently. 4 men and 1 lady. It was a slow day, so I took note. Ada slid a small slip of paper across the table. Check this ticket number, 349786 against your record. Chuks reached into his travel bag, pulled out his well-worn brown notebook and opened it with care. He flipped to the page marked Tuesday 7th. His finger ran down the list of names and numbers. Then it stopped. This ticket, he said, tapping the page, belongs to the lady. Her name is Amaka Okeke. Ada leaned forward. You're sure? Yes, very sure, Chuks replied. I remember her. She used to come every month. Quiet girl. Always bought just one ticket. She told me once that her mom was very sick. Joy stepped closer. What time did she buy the ticket? Chuks didn't even hesitate. Around 6 p.m. She didn't stay long that day. She seemed deep in thought, barely said a word. Just bought the ticket and left. Ada stared at the entry in silence, then looked up at Chuks. You just solved a very important case. The air was cooler now, the day's pressure finally beginning to ease. Officer Ada stood by the office door, watching Chuks carefully return his brown notebook to his travel bag. You've done well, Chuks, Ada said. You should rest. It's late. Chuks looked up, rubbing his tired eyes. You can sleep in the guest room upstairs, Ada added. I'll have someone bring you food. Chuks nodded gratefully. Thank you, sir. Ada picked up his phone and dialed. Commissioner, he said when the line connected. We've confirmed the rightful ticket owner. Her name is Amaka Okeke. Full details in the notebook. The ticket was purchased on the 7th, exactly as she claimed. There was a pause. Well done, the commissioner replied. Call the head of the raffle committee immediately. Let's clean this up. Public interest is high. Ada made the next call. Sir, it's confirmed. The boy had records. We have the name, time, and supporting details. Good work, the committee head replied. Get an arrest warrant. Pick up the man who made the false claim. Let's close this the right way. The sun had barely risen when a black police van rolled quietly into the neighborhood. Donald and Nancy were inside mid-argument. She was holding a bag. We should have left already. A knock at the door cut her off. Donald opened it slowly. Four officers stood outside. Mr. Donald Okafor, you are under arrest for providing false information in a financial investigation and attempting to fraudulently claim public funds. Nancy gasped. No, please. Donald didn't fight. His shoulders slumped. I knew this was coming, he muttered. Neighbors peeked from behind their curtains. Others gathered quietly, whispering. The murmur that had followed them for days now turned into a storm. The 12 o'clock news came on, this time with a bold red banner. Breaking news. Real winner of 30 million Naira big win raffle found. The camera cut to a press conference podium. The head of the raffle committee stood behind a bank of microphones, composed and confident. Thanks to the excellent work of the Lagos State Police, especially Officers Ada and Joy, and the remarkable help of a very smart young man, we have identified the rightful owner of the winning ticket. Applause followed. The camera panned to show four people standing side by side. Officer Ada, tall, calm and proud. Her officer Joy, composed with her arms at her side. The head of the raffle committee, hands folded in front. And Chuks, holding his brown notebook, looking both proud and slightly overwhelmed. The crowd clapped louder. Reporters called out questions. The fan hummed lazily in the corner of the room. Amaka sat at her desk, typing quietly, eyes glued to the screen. Her inbox was full, deadlines piling up, and her head was still pounding from a restless night. Just then, a loud burst of voices echoed from the waiting area. People laughing, shouting, chairs shifting. Turn it up, someone yelled. That's her. That's her. She frowned, stood up and stepped into the hallway. Her co-workers were gathered around the small television mounted on the wall near reception. Everyone looked stunned, faces lit with surprise and joy. There she is, her manager shouted, pointing. Amaka. You were announced the winner. Amaka's eyes snapped to the TV. Her breath caught. There, on the screen, was her face standing just behind the head of the raffle committee during the earlier press conference. Her ID photo was shown again beside the winning ticket number. She stared in disbelief. For a moment, everything blurred. Then she dropped to her knees, hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Her body shook with joy. Some clapped. A few rushed over to hug her. Others simply watched in awe as her moment arrived. The news continued. And thanks to the careful record-keeping of a young store assistant named Chuks Nwosu, the case was resolved. The Lagos State Police confirmed the rightful ticket belonged to Ms. Amaka Okeke. For his honesty and support, Chuks has been awarded a special 1 million Nigerian Nairas check by the raffle committee. The camera flashed back to Chuks, smiling nervously as he was handed the large ceremonial check. Amaka wiped her face, still shaking. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen, heart pounding. Unknown number. She answered softly. Hello. A warm, formal voice came through the line. Good afternoon, Ms. Okeke. This is the head of the raffle committee. Amaka gasped, her other hand flying to her chest. Congratulations. And apologies for the delay. We're happy to inform you that your prize is ready. Please come in to receive it. Tears returned to her eyes. Thank you so much, she whispered. Behind her, applause broke out again. At long last, her miracle had found its way home. Saturday morning, Big Win Raffle Headquarters, Ikeja. The main hall was decorated with banners, cameras, and a small crowd of guests and reporters. At the center stood Amaka, dressed simply but gracefully, eyes shining with quiet strength. A large ceremonial check bearing her name, 30 million Naira, was presented by the head of the raffle committee, who shook her hand and smiled for the flashing cameras. Applause echoed around the room. Amaka blinked back tears and took a deep breath. Now my mother can have her surgery, she whispered. And I can finally start the virtual assistance agency I've dreamed of. Then, her smile faded slightly as a thought hit her. She turned to the committee head. What would have happened if I hadn't been able to prove I bought the ticket? The man's expression grew serious. Then, the money would have been forfeited. We would have kept it. That's our policy when no clear, verified claim is made. Wow, Amaka said softly, shaking her head. Her thoughts drifted immediately to Chuks, the boy who kept the notebook, who had no reason to help her but did. I owe this to Chuks, she murmured. Amaka arrived at the kiosk early. The morning sun warmed the storefront, but Chuks wasn't there. Inside, Ms. Beauty greeted her with a warm smile. You're our champion, she said. I'm looking for Chuks, Amaka said. I wanted to thank him. Ms. Beauty nodded. He's not back to work yet, but I can give you his home address. The small compound was modest but clean. Amaka knocked gently on the front door. Moments later, Chuck's mother opened it, smiling warmly when she recognized her. Good afternoon, Amaka greeted. My name is Amaka. Yes. Chuks told us everything, the woman said proudly, calling inside. Chuks, come on. She's here. Chuks stepped out shyly, wearing a simple shirt and holding his brown notebook under his arm. Amaka smiled. I came to say thank you. Without your help, that money would have been lost forever. She turned to his parents. You raised a remarkable son. Chuks lowered his head slightly, smiling. I'm grateful, she continued, reaching into her handbag. She pulled out an envelope and handed it to him. He opened it slowly, his hands trembling. 5 million Nigerian Nairas. 5 million Naira. He looked up, stunned. But, why? Because I wouldn't be standing here without you, Amaka said gently. You deserve it. Chuck's mother gasped, covering her mouth. His father stepped forward, holding his son's shoulder. Tears welled in Chuck's eyes. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you so much. Amaka smiled, heart full. Thank you, Chuks. Amaka's voice was steady, but her eyes shimmered with emotion. The little compound buzzed with a quiet joy. Chuck's mother whispered prayers of blessing. His father, unable to find the words but letting his teary eyes say them all. Chuck stood still, clutching the envelope like it might float away if he let go. I didn't do it for money, he finally said. I just thought it was the right thing. I know, Amaka replied with a soft smile. That's why it means so much. There was a pause. The moment held something sacred. Take care of yourself. I believe you'll do something great with that notebook. Chuks nodded slowly, the edge of a smile tugging at his lips. Amaka stepped back, gave one last wave to the family. The sun was dipping lower now, casting golden light over the rooftops. As she walked away, her heart felt light. The reward was more than the money. It was knowing that her life, and someone else's, had changed for good. Each step away from the house felt like a step into something new. She smiled and kept walking, not out of survival but into her new purpose.